A very warm welcome tonight. Benvenuti in Italia.
Ciao,
ciao,
tutti.
Ciao,
ciao,
ciao.
tutti.
You see, we are in Italy. It's happy life over there, but we are in the north, not in the south, but nevertheless, we will have fun tonight. So, herzlich willkommen auch in Südtirol.
Hallo.
In Tirol spricht man Deutsch, Josef Reiterer. My name is Gerhild Burkard. I'm organizing the International Sparkling Festival, which is cancelled this year and probably and last year as well. So I bring together a lot of different wineries, sparkling producers, which are normally at my festival in Frankfurt. So today we are in Italy. You have already seen it, Benvenuti. And hallo nach Südtirol. Wir starten in Südtirol mit Josef Reiterer von Weingut Arunda. Hallo Josef, hallo Michael, sein Sohn, der heute auch einen Teil der Übersetzungen macht. So he will explain something in English because two people are speaking English, so normally we are talking English. If you want to chat with us, you have to inscribe at YouTube, and then you can chat, ask questions. So we are going now to Bellavista, to the Lombardy. Vitaliano, thank you very much that you join us today from Bellavista Winery, and we go to Matteo Burani from Ferrari, and we are in Trentino. Hello, Matteo.
Guten Abend.
Good night. He speaks German as well, because from South Tyrol. I am happy because Italian sparklings haven't been actually in my project, but tonight I have really the tops of Italy and the very well-known as well. And we start now with Arunda, with South Tyrol. Behind me, you see the map. We are in the north of Italy. Here behind me, you see Italy, and we have three regions. We have in the north, South Tyrol or Alto Adige. Here is Trentino, Trento, with Ferrari, and here is the Lombardy with Bellavista. It's near the Lake Iseo and not so far from Milano, from Milan. So the introduction of the different wineries of the different regions will be given by the wine producers or the export managers. And so, Josef, wir starten mit dir. We start with you and with Arunda. Michael, he explained us a little bit about the history of Arunda, because it's a very special history. So we start. Here we are.
Right. Good evening. I'm Michael Reiterer from the highest sparkling wine cellar in Europe, situated on 1,200 meters in the beautiful village Meltina. Meltina is over Telano, and it's very special history about our sparkling history, and it's so special. When you arrive at this location, nobody think about a sparkling winery on this altitude. And the special is that our sparkling wine cellar don't have their own vineyard. We don't have their own grapes. We select the best grapes and wine varieties. We have our wine growers from the basic, from the valley, from Telano. For example, we select Chardonnay, Pinot Blanc, and Pinot Noir.
Mm-hmm. So you buy the grapes, you have not your own grapes, so it's nice when we have had our preliminary discussion. So als wir unsere Vorbesprechungen hatten, people mentioned the others say, oh, that's great, very good, because so you only have the best grapes to produce your sparkling. Und so ihr habt nur die besten Trauben, um eure Schaumweine zu produzieren.
Yeah. Our sparkling wine cellar was founded in 1979.
Mm-hmm.
Start with 300 bottles in the 1976. And for us, it's really important to have a really good relation partner, customership with our farmers. And we control from the vineyard to the basic wine, and from the basic wine to the second fermentation in the bottle.
Yeah.
And all the processing we made on 1,200 millimeters, where we have our magic bubbles winery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's your magic bubbles because it's really very special. And Josef, du bist einer der Schaumwein-Produzenten, der in ganz Europa bekannt ist. Josef, he's very well known in whole Europe, not in the whole world, I don't know, but in Europe he's very well known. I know when we travel, when I travel with him, he knows such a lot of people. He have been in a lot of wineries. Du warst in ganz vielen Weingütern, du bist auch Berater und bist wirklich da in ganz vielen Sachen unterwegs. Sag ruhig mal 2, 3 Worte auf Deutsch. Ich weiß, es ist ja schade, dass du jetzt nicht so gut Englisch sprichst, aber du erklärst auf Deutsch. He will done some explanation. Give us some explanations in German.
Ja, also ich hatte ja eine super Ausbildung in Deutschland genossen und durfte dann bei einer deutschen Firma über 15 Jahre arbeiten.
Yeah, my father starts to working for a German high technology analogic company in Germany, and he has a good education.
He has a very good education, and therefore he's very known everywhere. Now, when we are talking about the sparklings, you already told us that the winery is very high. It's on 1,200 meters, and South Tyrol, they are specialized in several grape varieties. So in Pinot Blanc, Chardonnay, and Pinot Noir, they are cultivated, and it's only about 1,500 hectares, so it's not a lot. Es ist ungefähr nur 1,500 Hektar, die für die Schaumweinproduktion in Südtirol produziert werden. Ja, wie viel macht ihr davon? How many hectares do you have?
Ja, wir produzieren in Südtirol 400.000 Flaschen, also ist so ein ganzen Nischenprodukt. Wir haben praktisch von diesen 400.000 Flaschen produziert auch rund 1/4, also über 100.000 Flaschen. Und wir konnten durch viele Arbeiten in den 80er Jahren durch die deutsche Technologie in der Weißweinberatung dadurch Furore machen, dass wir wirklich mit deutscher Hilfe der Önologie besondere Weißweine in Italien produzieren konnten. Und dadurch auch ich in Italien bei vielen Weingütern unterwegs war für Beratung und somit viele Leute kennenlernt, hauptsächlich auch Universitäten von Italien und auch von Frankreich oder Deutschland insgesamt.
Okay, so I think now we have 10 minutes after starting our session, and I think people are sitting at home and they want to say cheers and to have a little aperitivo. And Vitaliano, he loves now, because if we can drink something, it's quite nice, and Matteo as well. And then we will talk about there are a regulation about the Metodo Classico and the reserve wines in South Tyrol. So I say cheers for tonight.
Cheers.
And cheers, Matteo, as well. And we will have fun. And you have one of the rare wines. You have Arunda. We will talk about it.
This is
it's really refreshing.
Okay, this is really a refreshing sparkling wine made by 50 Chardonnay 30% of Pinot Blanc and 20 of Pinot Noir.
So
It's yellow, fresh flavor inside. It has a long-lasting. We have a citrus fruit, apricots flavors, and we have a persistent spellage. We have on the finished and at the palate really small bouquet of yeast. It's 24 to 30 months on yeast. It's our great basic line.
Is this your flagship? It's
flagship is one of our sale flagship, and for us it's important to start with the basic line and begin to start with a great basic line to arrive to have 12 different sparkling wines.
Okay.
And 12 different high quality sparkling wines.
When I smell the glass, it's floral, it's fruity, and it's freshness. And I'm really feeling sitting out in South Tyrol, have a look at the Dolomites, and it's very, very nice. So there is a regulation concerning the grape varieties, and there's a regulation. It's only méthode classique. That means metodo classico. And we have the reserve wines. They have minimum 36 months on the yeast. Correct, Josef? Ja.
Alle Arunda-Produkte gehen mit 24 Monaten hinaus.
All our Arunda products goes with 24 months to 36 months.
So you are really over the time that's normal in.
For us, it's important to have a persistent fine pelage in the palate and in the glass.
Yeah, so it's a very you have very fine bubbles, and it's very, and you have this fruit.
Yeah, and we want to create more value with our sparkling wines with the long aging times on the yeast, and also for the selecting for the grape, and so we create here. On 1,200 meters, we create here a more value effect for our products, and to satisfy our great customers and fans for Arunda sparkling.
Yeah, I can imagine with this wine. Lovely wine and very, very nice. Josef, vielen Dank. Ein wunderbarer, ich sage immer Wein, weil für euch ist es ja auch Wein. Every time I say wine to the sparklings, but natural sparklings are wine as well. And normally the wine growers, they say wines as well. Now we are coming to the second area. And our lineup, you have seen, you got the email that we start with Arunda, then we have Ferrari Maximum, and at least BELLAVISTA. And now we are going a little bit more south to Ferrari winery. And Ferrari, it's not only a car, but it's a sparkling wine. And so tell us a little bit about Ferrari history, Matteo, and and the Trento Doc. What are the law of Trento Doc? And first we start with the history of Ferrari.
Correct. So yes, Ferrari is well known as a red sports car, and Ferrari is the second most common last name in Italy after Rossi, and it is literally Schmidt, someone who works with steel. So very common name in Germany, very common name in Italy as well. Our company was founded well before Enzo Ferrari's famous winery, famous car manufacturer. We were founded in 1902 by a man called Giulio Ferrari. Giulio came from a family of viticulturalists. He went and studied in Geisenheim, and then went also to Montpellier. And when he was in Montpellier, he would often go to Reims, and he fell in love with Champagne and Chardonnay, and how can you not? While he was on these trips, he said, you know what, I think this is something that I can do back home. And he was the first person to bring Chardonnay to Italy. And he started selling Chardonnay grapes. Sorry, not grapes. He started selling the Chardonnay plants to people in Trentino. And he would make bottles of wine from his grapes. And make bottles of sparkling wine. So since 1902, Ferrari has only made Metodo Classico. In 1902, Giulio started a house that was built on Metodo Classico Chardonnay from the Dolomites. And today we remain Metodo Classico Chardonnay from the Dolomites. So the tradition continues. Giulio didn't have any children. So in the 1950s, he sold his business to some local wine merchants in the area called the Lunelli family. The Lunelli family not only were good friends of his, but they had something that was especially helpful, which was 4 sons who were willing to continue the business, one of which was an enologist. So the Lunellis take over the business, work with Giulio until his death, and then now we're on the 3rd generation of Lunellis who run the business. We farm 100 hectares of our own vineyards. All of our vineyards are from 400 to 1,000 meters in altitude, and all of our vineyards are certified organic. In addition to this, we work with 500 different families who bring us their grapes, and these are the base of all of Ferrari's wines. We are the largest.
One moment. I have to a little bit interrupt you. So these are the base wines. So which it's Chardonnay? This is the main grape variety for you?
We only almost all of our wines, the majority of our wines are Blanc de Blanc. Today we're tasting 2 rosés, and we make 1 Blanc de Noir, but all of our other wines are Blanc de Blanc. We only work Chardonnay and Pinot Nero. That's it.
That's Pinot Nero. It's Pinot Noir, Spätburgunder in German language. So you really keep the tradition of Chardonnay because you have the very long experience with this. If we compare, we are now in Trentino, and Trentino is a little bit south, and you are at a certain altitude as well. And it's the same, not really the same, but the same, a little bit the same like in South Tyrol. So what is the soil? Where are the grapes are growing on? So what kind of soil do you have?
So we work in 5 different areas of Trentino, and the soils are, for the most part, the soils are sand and rock based. Okay, this is the classic Dolomites. When you think of the Dolomites, the majority of our vineyards are geologically speaking in the Dolomite Mountains. Then there's one area that we work which has levels that are higher in loam soils, but not heavy. And then one area that we work which has volcanic soils. The Val di Cembra is a magical area. But the majority of the wines are similar to what you'll find along the Adige Valley, which are largely dolomitic sand and soil stones.
So it's a little bit chalky as well.
No, the chalk levels are quite low. There are a few areas, but compared to, of course, you can't not talk about Metodo Classico and not talk about Champagne. Compared to Champagne, they're very, very small.
No, it is this chalky dolomite. So it's not the same chalk, and it's a dolomite chalky. So,
exactly.
Yeah. It's not the same. Yeah, it's not the same like in. So Joseph, I just come back to you. Perhaps you can explain a little bit about the soil in South Tyrol, because it's a little bit different, and then we come back to taste their Boden.
We can talk about a little bit of the soil.
Yeah.
In South Tyrol, the porphyry, the limestone, for example, the calcaric, really mineralic soils.
Mm-hmm.
And they are the
drei Zonen. Wir haben 3 Zonen. Also
we have three areas. One area is Terlano
with porphyry
soils.
Dann ist Epan mit Limestone.
After we have with limestone is Appiano, Epan.
And Salorno mit Kalkstein.
And with the calcaric stone, we have in the
chalky stone.
Chalky stone. We have similar soils than they have also in Trentino.
In Trentino, because it's coming from the Alps and from the Dolomites. Okay, but
really important for this really mineralic notes in the sparkling wine.
For the audience, because we have South Tyrol wines, and then we're coming back to Trentino, and the appellation was founded in 1993, the appellation of Trento, Matteo, and it's a DOC, and I think we want to taste now a DOC, and then so that we can have something in the mouth and a mouth feeling about your wine. And once in the evening, I really like to open a bottle. So I want to have this plop, this flashing. I cannot do it like in Formel 1 now, because in Formel 1 now it's Ferrari, the wine. Spread out, but I don't have this big bottle up. Perhaps you have to send me one. We can do it. We will celebrate.
Well, that's always the most fun, and the big bottles are, of course, the most fun of all.
Yeah. So I love this plop. So welcome again to the world of sparklings. Now we are tasting Maximum. Explain us a little bit about Maximum and the grape. The grapes is 100% Chardonnay. You already told us. And how do you work? How do you work in the winery to create this wine?
So the Maximum Blanc de Blanc is 100% Chardonnay. It is 3 years, so 36 months on the lees. It is a non-vintage wine, and the goal of Maximum is really to show the freshness of the area. I think that what you'll often see in across the Dolomites for the sparkling wines is an incredible freshness, an incredible verticality, fine perlage, and more on the elegant notes of a wine. This has 5 grams of rest sugar of residual sugar in it. So you feel the fine bubbles. And mostly you feel this incredible salivation in your mouth. That is the hallmark of the wines from our region.
Yeah. Yeah, this is very fine. We have these elegant bubbles like in the wines from Arunda, but it's totally different now. You have the Pinot Bianco, these floral notes in the wines from Arunda. Here you have it's not structured, and it's typical Chardonnay. You have white flowers as well, a little bit of citrus aromas, and you how many? What is your? You have a lot of different sparklings in your winery. So I think this is one of your best sellers and maximum. And
I think that every sparkling wine house is going to sell most and should be evaluated on their non-vintage wine.
Mm-hmm.
The non-vintage wine is in many ways the hardest wine to make, and that the goal of the non-vintage wine is to create a product that bottling after bottling shows a style, shows a vision, and doesn't necessarily reflect vintage, but reflects consistency. This is what great non-vintages from anywhere in the world, and there are great sparkling wines, and increasingly more so from so many regions of the world. Champagne is great, but it by no means has exclusivity to quality anymore. Whether you're talking about Franciacorta, whether you're talking about Südtirol, whether you're talking about Trento Doc, or if we go to Tasmania, if we go to England, if we go to Canada, if you go to Western United States, if you go to South Africa, if you go to Germany, if you go to Austria, there are great sparkling wines, Metodo Classico, that are being produced at this point.
Yeah.
And, we fall into this category of alternatives to champagne, and together all of these producers in the world, they're still probably not even 1/3 of what champagne does in terms of numbers. And every region is different, and it's nice to see the different how different areas are growing in showing the characteristics of their sparkling wines. This is what our vision of Trento Doc is. This is what our region gives us. Great verticality and a great ability to age. This is something that is, quite unique to Trentino. The wine that has the longest aging for us is released with 19 years of time on the lees. Yeah. 19 years.
Wow.
So, and that's an incredible ability to age.
Yeah, I think it's really, really great, and to see this, because Ferrari, it's a benchmark in the region as well. And when we are coming back a little bit to now, I think I say cheers to everyone. We have seen the bottles, and I have already tasted it a little bit, and the bubbles are very fine, and you have this fruitiness, but the structure is very good, and I think you can combine it with some food. And the Arunda is more for aperitif, for light food, I think, Joseph. And this one you can have a fish meal or whatever, a little bit, so you can serve it for in a menu. Right. And when we are going back to Trento Doc, the grape varieties are allowed Chardonnay, Pinot, Nero, Pinot Bianco, and Meunier. It's I think it's correct.
Yes.
So these are the same varieties like in the Champagne area. So and you are working on Chardonnay, mostly on Chardonnay, and you have different. Different wines. That means you have a brut, that means minimum 15 months on the yeast. But your wines at Ferrari, I think every time they are going over this 50 months, like Joseph's wine.
Correct.
What is the minimum of your wines?
The wine for us that does the least is the Ferrari Brut. Which that is 24 months on the lease.
24 months, yes. Okay, yeah. And then you have the Millesimato, the sparkling wines of the year. So this is minimum 24 months in Trento Doc. and then you have a reserva, and it's the same like in South Tyrol. It's 36 months, and I think you have a lot of wines which are really longer on the yeast and 36 or more.
You know, I think that in throughout Trentino, the style, I mean, you're right that we can grow Pinot Meunier and Pinot Bianco and Pinot Noir, but the style of throughout the Trento Doc, the 36 producers of Trento Doc, is largely a Chardonnay style, largely with more time than 15 months on the lees.
Yeah.
They're wines with great acidity and need a little bit more time to develop.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned that you are only about 40 or 36 wineries who are working in the sparklings. So
yes.
It's a very, very small family. Josef, how much are in South Tyrol? Because you are part of the South Tyrol Association, Sparkling Association, Sekt Association. Wie viele seid ihr in Südtirol? Wie viele Winzer, die da drin sind?
Wir sind 10 Winzer jetzt.
We
10
have
Winzer.
different sparkling wine producers in South Tyrol.
Yeah, so it's 10, it's 36.
But in the last times, it comes really popular to produce sparkling wines in South Tyrol, because the people need more bubbles. The life is more easy. They love the bubbles, and so many producers comes on the idea to produce sparkling wine.
Yeah. I think at this time it's to have some fun, because in these special times I think it's nice to have some bubbles in the glass and to say cheers and whatever. We are coming now a little bit to the south again. We are coming to BELLAVISTA winery in the Lombardy in Franciacorta. This is the appellation Franciacorta. And Vitaliano, before we start with the history of BELLAVISTA, I think you have to introduce us a little bit to the area Franciacorta, because it's a very special area as well. And so explain us a little bit of the history and of this area.
Sure, with pleasure. Well, when you think about Franciacorta, the first important thing to say is that you're not only talking about an area of production, but you're talking as well about a name of a wine and about a method of production. Mm-hmm. So those are three things together, like champagne, by the way. Franciacorta is a particular region with Lago di Seo on the north and Monte Orfano on the south. It's like an amphitheater, 200 square meters, 2,400 hectares of vineyards. So it's a little bit bigger compared to Alto Adige and Trento Doc, but not so much. So we're still talking about an area that produce in total 17 million bottles. That, of course, compared to the champagne, that it's over 300 million. It's not that much. So you have Lago di Seo on the north, together with the Valcamonica Mountains. Difficult to see from there. But on the north you have Valcamonica Mountains. On the south you have Monte Orfano.
Yeah, you have these mountains.
Yeah, that's very important, because it's like a natural fence. Yeah. So this means that usually you have a quite mild climate, both in winter and in summer. So you have cooler climate in summer, milder winter, and it keeps the temperature quite favorable for growing the vines. Mm-hmm. As Josef and Matteo, we are in common the grapes. So we are Chardonnay based, together with Pinot Noir and Pinot Blanc. Recently, we are rediscovering an ancient grape called Herba Mate that was used in the medieval time. Now it's back. It's like a trend. So we are figuring out if it's going to be a wine or not. Mm-hmm. But it's mainly based on Chardonnay as well.
Mhm.
So the history of Franciacorta as a sparkling wine is really quite old. We go back to the medieval time. There was this wine, of course, was not produced like today. That's a completely different game. The Franciacorta, as we know it today, it's only 50, 60 years old. So it was made in the 60s for the first time. It's a wine that started with the Berlucchi family, okay, and then year by year the wine producer became more and more. Only few family now. Now we are around 112 producer. Only few producers started as a wine producer. So, as you said before, we are close to Milan or Mailand in German, and so it's full of entrepreneurs. So the wine was seen as a side business. Okay, so they started as a hobby, as an investment. I think that's why Franciacorta is so well performing as well in Italy, because they approach the vineyard with an entrepreneurial mindset. Okay, so today Franciacorta, it's 85% consumed inside is domestic, and 15% only is exported. Okay.
So we are happy to have these bottles here in Germany.
Good. I think we share in common together with Trento Doc, as well with Joseph Arunda Sparkling. The fact that we are producing high-end sparkling wine from Italy. There are two other regions in Italy, I think, that deserve to be mentioned. One is Alta Langa in Piedmont, and the other one is Oltre Popavese.
Right.
With these five, of course, everybody is producing Metodo Classico around Italy. Really, these 5 areas are what is really what you can get the best of the Italian sparkling wine.
Yeah, because we have to mention as well that Franciacorta, it was the first region which declared the Metodo Classico in 67. So in 67 they already became DOC, and in 95 DOCG. So DOCG, and I think this is to mention, it was the first sparkling region which were declared as a Metodo Classico and Franciacorta.
To be honest, I don't wanna say something different, but I think the first Metodo Classico in Italy was produced in Piedmont, Alta Langa, Bruno Giacosa.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know, Matteo, if you have the same information.
The first family to produce, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bruno Giacosa from Piedmont.
But Franciacorta is the first DOC.
Yes,
DOC, it's the first DOC, yeah.
Yes, Franciacorta is the first DOC, then it was as well declared DOCG. I mean, it's so tiny, the production and everything can be easily controlled, that DOCG is of course, is a very strict regulation. It's not Metodo Classico, it's Metodo Franciacorta. Yeah. So we were able with the DOCG to register the method as well. We share, as in Trento, as Matteo said, 18 months is the minimum, but nobody does 18 months. Let's be, I mean, quite frank. You cannot produce a high-end sparkling wine, aging the grape on lees only for 15 months or 18 months. So to produce a good sparkling wine that is persistent, that's got a nice perlage, that is long-lasting as well, if you go minimum 36 months, you're failing. So that's the good quality standard. 36 months up.
Yeah. So I think we will taste now one of your wines,
sure.
And so that we can talk really something about, we have something in our mouth, and this is BELLAVISTA Alma, and you can explain us what it is, which varieties, dosage, and how do you work?
This is well, first of all, very important to say, This wine is the combination, it's a cuvée, so it's a combination of more than 70 different parcels, okay? So Bellavista makes wine with own grapes. That of course, it doesn't mean that it's better or that it's worse, it's just a philosophy.
Yeah.
We have more than 200 hectares. These 200 hectares are divided into 147 different parcels. Okay, that means 140 different harvesting and then 140 different wines. When you come to the cuvée, then you blend, usually to produce Alma, you blend an average of 70-75 different wines. Okay. So the terroir in Franciacorta, Franciacorta terroir, there are 6 different main kinds. So it's very important to have vineyards all around, not only one plot, 200 hectares. It really doesn't make sense. So we call it this wine Alma because it really express the soul of Franciacorta. Okay, the soul, how we see Franciacorta as well. And I agree with what Matteo said before. Let's be frank, to produce a few thousand bottles of a vintage wine, it's quite easy. So, even ourselves that we've never been in the winery, if we try, we might do that. But to produce a non-vintage wine in good quantity and to be always consistent with the quality, consistent with the style, that's the highest challenge. So this is a wine made with mostly Chardonnay, 19% of Pinot Noir and 1% of Pinot Blanc. This 1% of Pinot Blanc doesn't add anything to the wine. It's just a traditional grape. We have this hectare, 1 hectare of a vineyard that is 30 years old. Okay. So it was an experiment, to plant some Pinot Blanc. We don't really invest in Pinot Blanc.
But you are in the DOCG, you are allowed only to have a maximum of 3% of Pinot Blanco and 1% of Epamat. It must be a minimum normally.
No. You can have a DOCG as well with 10%, 15% of Pinot Blanc. Okay. Actually, you can produce a 100% Pinot Blanc and it's Franciacorta DOCG. Yeah. So the important is to use a Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, and Pinot Blanc. Yeah. Herba Mat is now entering. Nobody can produce 100% Herba Mat. It's not suitable to produce a 100% monovarietal.
Yeah, but in total, the region you already mentioned, it's more Chardonnay. It's about 80% Chardonnay, and yes. It's about 15% Pinot Nero and about 3% Pinot Blanco.
Yes, that's correct.
It's the area.
Yeah. So we use all our wines do average of 25 to 30% first fermentation and aging as well in PS. Okay.
In barrels?
Yes, in barrels. The barrel is called PS, 228 liters. This is important to give longevity to the wine, but we have to understand as well that it doesn't add the wood taste to the wine because the age of this PS is around 20-25 years. So they are more than second and third passage. The objective is just to get a little bit of meat.
You want to have the taste. Yeah.
Correct.
You don't want to have the taste of
barrels. No, it's not a matter of the taste. It's a matter of in a way, making sure that the wine is evolving with the right structure, exchanging with the outside. Oxygen is a poison for the wine. If you give oxygen all of a sudden, you ruin everything. If you give just a little bit for a longer period, then you create some immunitary system for the wine, and that's why the wine can last for longer times. So Bellavista.
So if we are just coming back to this wine, because I think people taste it now, the audience, and we want to explain a little bit. It's this freshness as well, and you have a really nice structure, and it's lemon. And it's a lemon,
yes,
but a little
fruity.
Bit fruity, very fruity, and a little bit some perhaps some raspberry, a touch of raspberry, and for me, a shortly, lightly touch of orange as well. So it's a fruity wine, and it's I think all these wines are starters of the day, but you can turn over to a menu as well. Do you eat something with these with your wines as well? Because I every time I say to the people, please take it to a menu, and not only take still wines to a menu, take bubbles to the for a menu as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's a matter, of course, is a very subjective. Yes, we do eat with sparkling wine, absolutely. I think before Matteo said our wine is very vertical, okay, and I agree with that. So the wine from Trentino Alto Adige are super subtle, very vertical. In this case, you have a wine that is more horizontal.
More round.
You have this rounded taste, this mouth-filling sensation. Myself, if I have to sit down and eat something like a more complex food, then I'll go with Trentino Alto Adige in this case, with this tasting. While if you want to have an aperitif with some finger foods or some carpaccio di pesce spada, swordfish carpaccio, then it's okay as well, a wine like this.
Oh, so, I'm getting hungry. It's mouth-watering as well, your wine. And if we are talking about food, this is very well. Yeah.
For example, even if you want to have some, burrata with some little cherry tomatoes, this is a good wine because it doesn't have that much of minerality, that much of salinity that, it's very easy to combine with this kind of food. So, but we do eat usually with sparkling.
Yeah, something.
Not only an aperitif.
If we are just talk now, we make a tour because I think normally we have 3 other wines we have to discuss, a short discussion or 2 explanations, what people will have as well, perhaps in their class tonight or a little bit later. But if we are just coming back to the situation actually concerning the climate change, I know, Matteo, that Ferrari, they already bought a long time ago, I think, wines in higher altitude, and perhaps you explain us a little bit about the situation concerning the climate change, what happens in your area.
I mean, certainly, I think that the biggest risk anywhere in the world, especially when we're talking about sparkling wines, where acidity is important, is looking at the warming temperatures. This is going to create new needs in the vineyards. We're going to all have to restudy the way we work in the vineyards. The advantage that the mountain wines have is that clearly we can move up. When we look at our history, it used to be that the best vineyards of Trentino were at about 500 meters. Now the best vineyards for us are producing between 550 and 650 meters. But all of our investments, correct, right now are between 700 meters to 1,000 meters. We're also investing right now. We just bought an area where we're planning a 25 hectare plot in an area where traditionally there hasn't been a lot of viticulture. That we have identified as we go higher, we feel like it's a risk, but that's something that we need to do. We need to think that for all of us as sparkling wine producers, much more so than still wine producers, we really have to think about the future a lot more. Remember that all of our wines here have done a minimum of 3 years on the lees, while in a lot of still wines, you're buying wines, on the reserves that are 3 years. So with base wines that are oftentimes even older than that. So, so you know, our business models are always based on looking towards the future, and we have to look at it. We have to maintain freshness. The second we don't have freshness is the second we don't have a good sparkling wine base.
Yeah. And if you are coming to South Tyrol, because South Tyrol, you have this altitude as well. And Joseph, you buy the grapes and you have the choice. Others have not the choice because they have their own plots in a certain. Joseph, wenn wir zu dir kommen, gibt es halt, du kaufst die Trauben dazu und du hast die Auswahl. Und wie ist das bei euch jetzt in Südtirol? Also du kannst ja wählen, wo du die Trauben, auf welcher Höhe du die kaufst und von welchen Winzern. Aber wie ist es generell, die Situation in Südtirol, was der Klimawandel betrifft?
Die guten, die idealen Sektgrundweine wachsen zwischen 400 und 700 oder 800 Meter.
Yeah, so it's about 400 and 700 meters altitude. They are the best. There are the best wines growing. It's the same like Matteo say. Yeah.
Wenn wir auf 900 oder über 900 Meter hinausgehen, ist die Reifezeit oft viel zu kurz und das Risiko von 10 Jahren, dass es nur 3 oder 4 Mal funktioniert, dass es wirklich reif wird. Sonst haben wir, wenn wir die Kälteeinbrüche im September haben, eine Ernte, die nicht reif wird.
So there is a risk if you are in a higher altitude, there is a risk of frost, or that you can in 10 years that you have only 3 or 4 harvests, which are really good. Otherwise, the grapes are too green. Yeah. And what happens in Franciacorta, because Franciacorta is not so high, and what happens over there? How do you manage it, Vitaliano?
The only difference that we are seeing today, well, first of all, I think that we cannot push from Calabria up in order to have some mountains in Pianura Padana. It won't happen for now. Okay, so we need to deal with the flat land. Yeah. So, Franciacorta advantage is that is this amphitheater, okay? So it's protected by these big changes, but of course we are suffering from that as well. So just to mention, usually the harvest 10 years ago used to start the 1st or 2nd week of September. Now the harvest, it's pretty much over 2nd half of October of August. So we start mid of August, before end of August is over already. Okay. So the only thing we can do is to make sure that the plants are growing strong enough, you know, to survive and to react properly to climate change. Plants, vines are like human being as ourselves, so they can adapt, of course, to climate change, but we have to pay attention because acidity is very important, is absolutely important, as well as maturation. So these two, phenolic maturation and acidity, need to be in balance in order to produce a good sparkling wine. So that's what we do. We work hard in the vineyards. It takes us much more than what used to be. For now, it's fine. For sure, it's a global issue. We should act all differently.
Yeah, but it's the same problem all over the world. It's the same problem in Germany with the sects, and it's as Matteo say that you need the acidity and to have this freshness, and perhaps you will store wines longer on the yeast. So if you have a good year, you can leave them on the yeast, but every time you have a certain quality. And
what Joseph said before regarding frost is actually correct. So in Franciacorta, there was I remember it was April 2017, because I was in Texas, and I got a call from the winemaker and said, "Oh my gosh, 30%, it's a problem. We, all around Franciacorta." The point is, Now Franciacorta is 2,400 hectares, but we have to say that not all those hectares are planted in the right places. Okay, so maybe before there was no vines, then of course Franciacorta wine was booming, so everybody will start planting all around, and it's a small area. You get the vines frosted where you plant the vineyard in the wrong place. That's it. So not all around should be the place where to plant vineyards. So you have to be very, very careful about this. But it is an issue, and more will be an issue. Another issue that we have in Franciacorta is ales. So in June sometimes we are hit by ales, and of course it's not fun. Yeah, that's the other. That's the other reason why it's better to have within Franciacorta vineyards all around. Ales is very.
Yeah, it's very concentrated. It's on one part, so it's good to have other wine areas around, so that you have the choice, and then only a part is damaged.
Yeah, absolutely.
If we are coming now to the second wines, because I already told that people have bought the other three wines, and we start with Arunda Reserva. Josef, erzähl uns ein bisschen was über den Arunda-Sekt. Du hast übrigens Grüße hier bekommen, auch von Freunden von euch, die anscheinend auch schon öfter bei euch waren, also im YouTube-Chat. Du hast hier uns ein Metodo Classico Reserva mitgebracht. Wie lange war der jetzt auf der Hefe? How long did he stay on the yeast, this wine? And it's an extra brut.
This stays more than 60 months on the yeast. Our special vintage sparkling wine. The vintage sparkling wine is always one of the best of the sparkling winery. It's from the year 2013.
Und hat 6-7 Jahre.
And has 6-7 years aging time on the yeast.
And the grape varieties, die verschiedenen Rebsorten?
Yeah, the grape varieties are 60% of Chardonnay and 40% of Pinot Noir.
Und only inox.
Only fermented in inox still.
Okay.
Und 4 Gramm für Dosage.
4 Gramm dosage.
4 Gramm dosage.
Yeah.
It's our classic, one of our classic best of Arunda, our vintage sparkling wine, and has a fine, really fine pelage, long-lasting yeast flavors in the nose, dried apricots, for example, and dried fruits. Really,
you have this kind of brioche as well. You have this kind of brioche as well. So you have really the really long creamy, storage. Yeah.
Really creamy.
Yeah.
And the long aging time on the yeast is important. Also that the fine bubbles, they are really. It's really involved in this sparkling wine.
Yeah. It's very round and special, and I think this is really something to combine with food.
Yes, it's only all our sparkling wine they're really great combined with food. And here we talk about a great Italian food like fish, like sushi, like carpaccio, Hotel Vitaliano before, and we have a special culture also in South Europe. We have the different culture. We have the culture from the south and the culture from the south. We have a particular kitchen also, and we can combine the bubbles. And we see that in the past in the restaurant that the many chefs combine food with sparkling wine. That they loves have bubbles with food, and this is also our publicity outside to move this new way to sell the sparkling wine, because we want also create and make with the sparkling wine create happiness, freshness, life.
You really want to bring the liveliness of your wines in the class, and
it makes part of the culture of the people, especially the culture of Italian lifestyle. Italia amore, terza amore, no?
I'm in Cologne. I'm from the Rhine side, and my life is very happy as well, because we have the Carnival we love a lot, and I like to celebrate and to say cheers, not only with Kölsch beer in Cologne, but as well with the sparklings. We are coming now to Ferrari, because in this Ferrari wine, it's a 2015 rosé, Perlé rosé. And it's a very special wine because it's rosé and with Pinot Noir. You explain a little bit, how do you manage it in the cellar, Matteo?
Correct. So, I think first of all, we've all spoken about the joy of sparkling wine, and that is something that we all share, and I'm sure also the people who are with us share. I always say life is better with sparkling wine, whether you're at the table with friends or whatever you want, whether you want it for a special moment. All special moments are great with sparkling wine. And please bring it to the table, because life doesn't end, especially in Italy. Life starts at the table. And so it's important for us, and sparkling wines have such a great ability to be paired with so many foods. And personally, I am of the belief that especially rosé sparkling wines have a capacity have to be paired with so many great foods, because it's not rosé sparkling wines, especially vintage sparkling wines like the Perlé rosé. This is a 2015 vintage. It is 80% Pinot Noir, 20% Chardonnay. Does a minimum of 5 years on the lees. So it has structure. It has a lot more structure than the Blanc de Blanc wines. And something like the Perlé rosé can even withstand, lighter meats. I love rosé, sparkling rosé, maybe not so much Perlé, but I love sparkling rosé, the lighter styles like the Maximum with pizza, with tomato flavor.
Great.
So try a pizza bollicine, open up Barunda, open up Bellavista, open up Ferrari, try it. Because it's really a fantastic pairing. The Perlé rosé is a vintage wine. It's a selection of wines. We always, in all of our vineyards, have Pinot Noir. And with all of our producers, we encourage them to work with Pinot Noir as well. It's a difficult varietal to work with. It is a varietal that doesn't come in all areas, or doesn't give good results in all areas. We tend to find that the higher up you go, I think the same is true in Südtirol, that there are certain altitudes where Pinot Noir tends to do really well, while in the lower areas it doesn't tend to do as well. The wine certainly has more structure. I think you can notice the extra time on the lees. And 2015 was just a vintage that shows great balance and great harmony in the wine.
One question: do you work in barrels as well with some of your wines, or it's only inox?
We do work in barrels with some of our wines. In general, our style is a stainless steel style. But yes, even the Perlé rosé will have a small percentage depending on vintage, but rarely over 10% of the wine that will have seen barrel aging. Yes.
Okay. Now we are coming to Bellavista because we have a Satin.
Yes, correct.
And we haven't. Yeah, you have it too as well, yeah. And we haven't spoken. It's a 2015, so the minimum must be 30 months and non-vintage Satin 24 months. We didn't mention it, and for
Correct.
Reserva 60 months
Yes.
on the yeast. It is the minimum, and so
Yes.
so this is 2015. Explain us a little bit. How do you work in the cellar? You are using
Well,
barrels as
first of
well,
all-
and
Well, first of all, very important is to explain the concept of a satin. So what is a satin?
yeah.
Satin is basically quite similar, same concept of Cremant, the old Cremant style. That means 1 atmosphere less and a Blanc de Blanc wine. Okay, these two combination, 1 atmosphere less of pressure and only being Blanc de Blanc, it basically generates a product that it's super feminine, super silky, caressing your palate.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's probably the most elegant wine that we produce here at Bellavista. We produce only vintage satin, so we don't have a non-vintage satin in the assortment. 48 average months on lease, okay? And residual sugar is close to 5.56 grams per liter maximum, okay? We produce Blanc de Blanc, in this case, only with Chardonnay, 100% Chardonnay. We never mix.
Yeah, it's remarkable because you have this big structure and it's full-bodied, I think. I like it it's concentrated and it's round and it's very long on the palate.
Yeah, it is. But it's very silky. When you drink satin, usually you think about silkiness.
Satin, silkiness.
Yes, yeah,
it's
it
like
is.
silk.
It's super silky.
It's really nice on your mouth, and it's very elegant.
Very pleasant, very Italian in a way, you know.
Oh,
Quite
very
generous.
Italian in a way. Okay.
There's no corners. There's no corners on this one.
Oh, okay. It's very Italian. I like it.
Yeah, I mean,
because we are really talking about your regions, and I think people want to travel to visit you, and I know every winery you can visit. And there is a question in the chat concerning Josef, because Josef, people ask you whether you will do Pineas Number 3, also ob du einen Pineas machst. Es gibt, es gibt Leute, die anscheinend den ersten und den zweiten in ihrem Keller haben, einen speziellen Schaumwein. Und machst du einen dritten?
Yes, we made also the third. Excuse me. Third is on the market. We made a new one of the classical Fineas with 100% Pinot Blanc.
Blanc in amphora.
In the amphora.
Okay, so you can already buy it, and you can phone Josef, and he will send you this one.
Really limited offer. We have a
only for special friends.
Variety.
Ja.
Aber wir haben schon weitere 5 Jahrgänge von Fineas hier im Keller liegen, die dann immer mit 5, 6 Jahren Reife dann erst herauskommen. Aber die liegen schon alle hier.
Okay.
We have 5 different years in the stocking in our beautiful area, in our beautiful cellar, and they are waiting for the aging. And we let the aging the Fineas more than 7 years. And the first one was made with special quick varieties.
Okay. So great. We will come to the end because there are some regions in Germany, people have to be at home at 9 o'clock or at 10 o'clock. So it's a lockdown. It's very special. And I think they want to taste a little bit again. We're just coming to the end. I want to say thank you very much that you have shared this evening with us. Josef von Südtirol, wunderbar. Wir sehen uns mit Sicherheit, wenn ich dieses Jahr reisen darf, in Südtirol und nächstes Jahr beim Sparkling Festival. Vitaliano, Bellavista have been at my Sparkling Festival as well. Perhaps you will join me next year. And thank you very much. Matteo with Ferrari, perhaps I can make a short trip with the red car and but next to you, you are the driver and I am the drinker, and so that we will have some fun. And for me, tonight I prepared some sausage from South Tyrol, some cheese, and I will have fun tonight. And I have done my own ravioli with asparagus inside and Parmigiano and green asparagus. I think it will be great tonight, and I will have fun with your wines and with your sparklings. And thank you to the audience that you shared tonight our little tour to Italy. And I think all people are welcome to your winery. One last sentence, Vitaliano. Yeah.
Of course, always welcome.
And okay. And thank you very much. We say cheers at the end, and hopefully we will see us in Italy. Cheers, Matteo. Yes. Cheers, Vitaliano.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, everybody.